Major Spoilers Podcast covers news, reviews, and of course spoilers, and goes into details about the topics discussed. So if you haven't read, listened, or watched the items we talk about, you might want to come back later.
I'm Matthew.
And I'm Steven, and you're listening to the Major Spoilers Podcast, the podcast for pop culture and comic fans.
In this issue, it's time for Adventureman. But the pulp age is a long time ago, so there may be some changes ahead. Speaking of changes, the Men Without Fear changes his MO. The Big Two changed their crossover policy, and I'm changing all the locks so Steven can't find me. It's pop culture nutrition, the way your family needs, fortified with vitamins. Spoiler for pep and memory loss. The Major Spoilers Podcast is adjacent to a complete breakfast, and it's on the air.
Welcome to issue 1166 of the Major Spoilers Podcast. Thank you so much for downloading and checking us out this week. Coming up later in the show, we will be talking about Adventureman. Man, if you slept on this when it first came out like 20 years ago, you missed out. We're going to talk about why a little bit later in the show. But first, some reviews. So there are a couple of big-name books that came out. One of them came out last week that I was super excited about and really enjoyed it a lot. It's got a lot of stories in it. It's the second big crossover from Marvel and DC, the first one being Batman and Deadpool and Batman. And last week it was DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man. Matthew, what went down?
Everything. So, Superman and Spider-Man, written by everybody. Mark Waid.
Well, Mark Waid writes the main story.
Yep, and Jorge Jimenez handles the art, which does answer an important question. Who is Spider-Man's greatest villain? Obviously, Dr. Octopus. Unless Dr. Octopus's arms get hacked by Brainiac. And that whole story, is just wonderful because I have no idea where it takes place. It doesn't matter where it takes place.
No,
this
it doesn't
is
matter.
Crossover.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really wonderful story that manages to take the struggling guy who never quite has enough money and is always stretching his powers to their limit. And maybe, bad things are going to happen. And then the guy who's just like, hi, I'm a shining beacon of freedom. And one time I flew through the moon, and makes them both work. And then, of course, obviously, you can't have a Superman story without Lois. So you get a Lois and Mary Jane crossover, which it's Tom King and Jim Lee. It has its moments. It has its charms. It is not my favorite in the book. That, of course, is the Power Girl and the Punisher.
That one's my favorite one, too. That was from Gail Simone and Beline Ortega. That was my favorite one.
That one is absolutely killer because, we've seen the Punisher in the DC universe very briefly before during Avengers vs. JLA, where Batman shows up, cracks him over the head, and takes him off to jail. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But as you go through the issue, it really is not just here's Superman and here's Spider-Man. It takes things from all over both universes and makes them all work in ways that you didn't expect. There's a whole story which is just basically Greg Rucka writing the Daily Planet's cast and the Daily Bugle's cast with art by Nicola Scott, by the way.
Yeah.
And of course, the John Kent Uncle Ben crossover. I get it. I do. I really do. And I feel like, that sure is a comic book that happened. But even the worst story in this volume is one that feels like it comes from a place of creativity and love and wacky fun. And that's the part that I really appreciate. That's the part where I just kind of have to go, oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Sure. Uncle Ben teams up with John Kent. Well, sort of. Not exactly. But it's a whole... It really is... I don't know how to describe it. Imagine you love something so much and you find another person that loves it and you're like, oh, man, we're going to geek out about this. That's kind of what this book feels like. And as a 50th anniversary take on the original Amazing Spider-Man Superman story from the big giant tabloid in 76, I find it very satisfying because, I read that book. I was there, Stephen. I still have one somewhere in my house, but if you pick up this book, be aware that it is $8. Be aware that I feel that it is worth $8. And I feel like the reason it's worth $8 is Doc Shaner delivers a cover with the beautiful image of the ridiculous Spider-Mobile fighting alongside the ridiculous Supermobile. One has big fists, one climbs walls. And if you don't love that, you probably don't love comics. But 4 slices of meatloaf for DC and Marvel, Superman, Spider-Man, written by a little bit of everybody and everybody having fun.
What I like most about this,
years, go ahead.
What I like most about this is the first time that we had, I'm not talking about the original Spider-Man, Superman crossover because they were in the same universe, et cetera, et cetera. This one kind of just picks up from, I don't want to say it picks up exactly from that, but with Batman Deadpool, Batman is like, how did this crazy character get into my world? And you find out, that the worlds have merged or something, bumped into one another, secret portal open, whatever. This one, it just starts off with Peter Parker and Clark Kent already know each other. They are already working colleagues. They know each other's secret identity so that when they discover that Brainiac has taken Doc Ock and given him kryptonite legs, it's just like, hey, let's just swing into action, and they go and do it together. And so there's none of that pretense of you're from who and you have the powers of the what. And so I just like that it's just straight up, let's team up and let's go have a story. That's what I like a lot about that one.
These guys met already. They know each other. They may not be besties, but they get along.
Yeah, no, and again, there's no pretense of you got your DC and my Marvel, you got your Marvel and my DC. No, it's just like we exist in the same universe, and I like that a lot. So
Earth crossover.
Yeah. All right, out this week from Marvel Comics is Daredevil #1, written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Lee Garbett. This is a duo on this. This is how these two got hired to do that. If you take one of them, you got to take both of them. This is a new adventure for Matt Murdock. I don't know if this is one of these 5 issues, let's try it out things that has been going on at Marvel where, if you're wondering why, like the Scarlet Witch, why is it running for 5 issues and then they reboot it with another 5 issues? It's because they're basically doing pilot season to find out which of these teams sticks, and whichever one sticks, that's what they're going to continue with beyond the 5 issues. But here, Matt Murdock, who everybody knows is the former mayor, former person who gets in trouble, former whatever, maybe or maybe not a mass superhero, who knows? But now he is a college professor at New York State University or whatever it is, the main university that Peter Parker and everybody goes to. And he is a law professor. And so he has to navigate the ins and outs of being a blind teacher and basically trying to get along with his students. And someone who is a college professor and deals with a lot of college professors and deals with a lot of students, there's a lot of idealism, wish fulfillment being put into the interactions between student and teacher in this comic book. Let me just say that. But when he's not teaching kids during the day, he's still swinging through Hell's Kitchen, taking down bad guys and running into a new character who I've never seen before, who keeps proclaiming Matt Murdock will die. Matt Murdock will die. And apparently shows up in Matt Murdock's apartment where the Daredevil is at and doesn't put 2 and 2 together, but still stabs a Daredevil and lets him fall, 40 stories to his death. So maybe the guy knows a lot more than he does. I don't know, but it was an interesting comic. I want to see if it gets beyond the 5 issues, but I think that maybe the writer might want to just go and sit into a couple of college classes just to see the interactions, and they might be surprised at how different their comic writing is from real life. But it was a fair book. I'm going to give it 3 slices of meatloaf out of 5. If you like the Daredevil, especially if you are into the new season of Daredevil that has just launched on the Disney Plus, this seems like synergy in action. They both came out within a week of one another. So Daredevil #1 from Marvel Comics. Hey, dear listener, if you love the Major Spoilers podcast, here's the real truth. This show only exists because of listeners like you. Patreon is how we keep these mics on and the comics coming in and the episodes free for you. And if you'd like some bonus discussion, like our discussion over the Power Rangers and Cesar Romero and Super Sentai and Power Rangers and Mike and Nick and Alice, and you want to get this week's bonus episode, you can get bonus episodes every week as part of your Patreon subscription at the $5 level. Plus, you get the satisfaction of being one of our heroes and keeping this show going for everyone else. So do me a favor, sign up today at patreon.com/major spoilers. Let's keep making awesome stuff together. I was going to have some questions for you guys this week, but there is no Rodrigo this week. He'll maybe be back next week, I hope. But we'll see where he is at. I was going to I guess I'll just ask you this, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
You've got some French fries, but no ketchup. Mm-hmm. What are you dipping those fried potatoes in?
Ranch or possibly blue cheese, depending on how I feel.
No mayonnaise? No
I'm not a
mustard?
mayonnaise dippy guy.
Why are you not a mayonnaise person?
Mayonnaise is just kind of a neutral flavor. Like, I'll use mayonnaise in weird places. I put mayonnaise on the outside of my grilled cheese.
Yeah, no, that's how you got to grill them.
Crisp and salty.
That's the only way to grill them.
I don't necessarily love mayonnaise as a thing. Now, if I'm at a specific restaurant, let's call it.
I don't even know. Is that place is Red Robin still around? I don't know if it is.
Red Robin, yeah, we have one. They have that campfire sauce. That's good stuff. But when I go to the Zack Donald's, I get the hot mustard, and I will dip anything in hot mustard all day long. I love.
What about Szechuan sauce? Do you go for the Szechuan sauce?
Do I look like a hipster?
Do you jump up on the camera and scream for Szechuan sauce? I would probably go with the mayonnaise as my preferred dipping sauce of choice. If there's no ketchup, maybe some barbecue sauce. I'd go barbecue sauce as the next.
If you mix
the next
mayonnaise
sauce.
And barbecue sauce, you make campfire sauce.
I like mayonnaise and ketchup mixed together. Nobody else in my family likes that. I got a bunch of weirdos in my house that are super picky when it comes to food. So I just kind of do my thing, and if they want to join in, they're welcome to it. So what about you, dear listener? Are you going to jump on the bandwagon and go with barbecue sauce or mayonnaise, or maybe you want some of that Szechuan sauce? Head over to the Major Spoilers Discord server. Yes, we have one of those. You can join the Discord server absolutely free, and you can jump into either the Poll of the Week channel or the Major Spoilers Podcast channel. Maybe you want to talk about March Madness. We got a sports ball channel just for you. Best of all, the Discord server is absolutely free. Come and hang out with us. Go meet some fantastic people, cat gifts, and a bunch of other things awaiting your arrival. Okay, Matthew. 4 words. Fraction and the Dodsons.
Right.
I think from now on, if I see that, well, really, honestly, to be honest, anytime I see Terry or Rachel Dodson's name on the cover for an art or art team, I pretty much know that the art is going to be a winner throughout. And so there's no question that there's going to be visually stunning imagery with lots of detail and lots of really good art in it. But I think from now on, if I see Fraction, Dodson, and Dodson, it's going to be an instant buy.
Attorneys at law.
Yeah. So Adventureman is kind of like an homage to pulp adventure series, specifically Doc Savage, because we are introduced to Adventureman through his books and stories and adventures, specifically in this first volume, which we'll put an asterisk next to this first volume. We're introduced to Adventureman and his last adventure with his band of heroes, and how they defeat or maybe defeated the bad guy and send him off into another dimension. Flash forward to today, and we get introduced to Chase and her story, or I'm sorry, Claire and her son Tommy, and their love of Adventureman. And as the story progresses, Claire finds out that through a mysterious book that arrives in her bookstore that the Adventureman stories are real, and somehow she gets the Adventureman powers by drinking a secret serum. And she comes from a very extended adoptive family of just about everybody. So pick a country, pick a ethnicity, pick a talent, and somebody in her family, all female family except for her son Tommy and her father, all have something to contribute. And so this first story is just basically setting up who is Claire, what is this world of New York, who is Adventureman, who are his former partners, and are they around, are they not around, how is Claire dealing with the fact that she now has powers, and the mysterious evil bad guy, Mako Rabababalopolis guy from a different dimension, Bug Guy.
Bug Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I was super depressed in reading Adventureman #1 because it introduces that amazing Fabulous Five team, or whatever you want to call them. They can't be the real Fabulous Five because they have actual women and people of color. But it's not 1938 anymore, and you can't necessarily blame that on Doc Savage. But that's such a cool lineup. You know, you have the mystic and the gentleman, and then you have the science witch. I don't know what a science witch is, but I want one.
Yeah, so that's one of those big things that is a difference between like, so when I say pulp, and I specifically say Doc Savage, that's the one that people will instantly connect with here. But Doc Savage never had the mystical, right? Everything was always science-based with Doc Savage. Even when you have specters and ghosts or whatever, it was always, they're covered in radioactive dust or whatever. Radium, it's safe. Brush your teeth with it for a glowing smile. But this one, the Adventureman's characters, you have somebody who can phase through walls. You have a literal magician. You have somebody, like you said, a science mage. And so I'm assuming that it's a mixture of magic and science. And then you have a girl who can fly in, what are those planes called? The aeroplane, the heliocopter plane.
Gyrocopter.
Gyrocopter, that's it. She can fly one of those. And then, of course, you got the bad guy who is all just this mystical, making pacts with the devil to take over the world kind of character. Right. So it's, when we say Doc Savage, think Doc Savage, but with magic.
Yeah. And that's a very comic booky thing too, where we don't follow the rules of, any particular storyline. But
yeah,
I always kind of wondered if the gentleman is a vampire. I'm not saying he's not. And, I do really appreciate the setup because it gets us right into that world that I will agree with you, Savage infused, but not necessarily Savage combined world. And then they kill everybody. And then I'm sad.
And Tommy's like, that's the last adventure? No, it can't be.
That's the thing that's great about it, though, because when you get through that first issue, or that first quarter of this book, basically, you do, even, me, first or second time reader, you get in there and you see Adventureman with a gun to his head. He closes his eyes and they're like, oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
That is an amazing kind of moment because I care about these characters who've been around for maybe half an issue. And then they throw us into Claire's story. And Claire's like, oh, I'm building on this universe of history. And as a reader, I felt that. I felt like, oh, yeah, there was so much personality and there was so much clever world building in the first half of the issue that it really feels like, oh, this is, the year 2006 or whatever. This is somebody picking up from something from the actual 30s and 40s. And that is amazing.
Yeah, no, I really like the, so the nice thing is we find out as this first volume goes on that not all of Adventureman's sidekicks are dead. Like the woman that can transpose herself through walls or teleport through stuff. She's actually alive in this other dimension. The magic guy is still alive and has been hiding in the building, which in itself, the building has been magically hidden from the people of New York since Adventureman's death in the 1930s. And so it's only the people who can see it can actually see it. And then you've got all of Claire's sisters who, again, I can tell you, if you are someone who is anti-woke, you're not going to like this because all of her sisters come from different ethnicities, different disabilities. Like there's a sister who has had her knees amputated her legs amputated from the knees down, and so she has these blades, but she's also a runner, so she's like a Paralympian, and so that's really cool. And so she's got a very, and it wouldn't surprise me if we find out at some point that Claire's dad is Adventureman. Because when you look at the map in the book that is dropped off and that Claire and Tommy are trying to solve, Tommy is like, look, here's our house, and here's our apartment, and here is the Adventureman location. And look, if we can draw this line, this location should be just around the corner. And it's like, well, why would their house be on the map? And then if you look at Adventureman, he's big and brawny, and her dad is kind of big and brawny. And so that says something there as well. I'm not saying that is the case because I'll be honest, when this book came out, in whatever year it came out, the first issue, I picked it up off the stands, but I never got around to reading it because I was just like, oh, this is Dodson art. I can read this anytime and it's going to be great. And the series has gone on and off, here and there. Sometimes you'll see a new Adventureman series pick up.
I'll say there was one just last fall, I thought. Yeah,
there was one just last fall. And so that's why I'm saying is it's kind of always there, and that's great. But, man, if I slept on this, and I kind of regret it. 2020 is when this collection was put together, but I want to say it had to be before that because I remember seeing it in our Hastings before our Hastings closed down, and I want to say that closed down in like 2018. So maybe I have my timeline off.
You may, because I think Adventureman #1 came out in 2020. I remember it coming out pandemic adjacent.
Maybe.
Because, at the time I was, nobody was going out on the streets, but I was still commuting to work and I was like locked in a basement. And so I was just like, what am I going to do? Oh, I don't know. I'll read some comics.
Yeah. Adventureman Ghost Lights came out in 2024. And then,
on sale, I think that was the most on June of 2020.
Okay. All right. So cool. Yeah. So, definitely slept on this one, but like I said, Adventureman Family Tree, came out just last year in July. So it's ongoing in fits and spurts.
Fits and spurts.
So
attorneys.
I said I needed to put an asterisk next to this, for volume 1, because here's one of these weird things that comic book publishers do, especially, and I don't know if this one was delayed for any particular reason. That it might have been because of pandemic, but we got the first 4 issues out, even though it hasn't completed the story. There's a gap. We better get this trade light out so people can catch up before the 5th issue drops. And that's the one that we ended up reviewing, the one that only contained the first 4 issues of the book. I was like, why does this story end the way it is really dumb, with the family going out, we must go find Claire. And it's like, well, there's an imminent danger from Bugman. And so then I went and pulled up issue 5 because Image had sent these to us all these years. And I was like, no, this completes the story. So do make sure that you get the very first full volume of Adventureman, the one that doesn't end on issue 4. It actually ends with them, spoiler alert, defeating Bugman and sending him back to his dimension. And then the family deciding that they're going to be adventure heroes.
Yeah. And that is something that I really appreciate about the work of Matt Fraction, is Fraction will give you these characters where you're like, why, I don't know if I like this person. And, as we first start to see Claire, I'm like, ooh, she's kind of exhausting. And then you kind of get stuck in her world and you're like, oh, okay, she's a single mom. This is all of her family. Her kid's adorable. All of the stuff is going on. And by the end of issue 2 or 3, I'm just like, okay, I'm on the Claire train. I'm a Claire supporter. And first off, by the way, and I say this with love, if you are anti-woke, eat a big bug. But secondly, all of the family.
There's plenty of them in this issue.
I know. They hit such neat, not even archetypes, because they're not archetypes, but just these neat little character designs and character beats that remind me of a really well-crafted like D&D crew.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like the big firewoman sister with all of the tattoos, and then you've got Regina, who is, I think, East Indian.
Yeah, so here it is. Rita is Brazilian. She's the one with the tattoo. She's an EMT.
Got it.
Regina is an Indian, and she works in poverty law. Ursula is Persian, and she is a teacher, scientist, an engineer. Evie is Caribbean, and she is the cook that we see. And then Serafina is Korean, and she's the one that has the blades for legs. And then you have Claire, who is, I don't know if they say what her background is, because she is also, like everyone else in the family, adopted and not born to, born into the family kind of thing. So
right. Knowing Fraction's predilections and just looking at how accurate the Dodsons are on a lot of the phenotypes, I will put even money down that Claire is herself Ashkenazi Jewish.
She might be,
just because of the way they draw her.
Well, no, but the family is Jewish, right? Because that's one of the rules for this family is if you're in town on Friday night, you have to go sit and eat dinner together, right? And do that and have a family get together. So, and that's because the father, well, actually, doesn't say that the father's Jewish. It specifically says the mother was Jewish. And that is why that they have a bunch of Jewish traditions in their families. So, so that's kind of cool. So like I said, if you're someone who's anti-woke, this probably is not going to sit well with you because you're just going to be screaming DEI, DEI the entire time. And you don't know what DEI means. Actually, you really don't know what it means. But regardless of that,
for God, right?
Yeah. So the story is really well told. I think it moves at a very fast pace for the 5 issues that this is. And it really does whoosh through. I think there are some parts where the reader has to fill in the gaps themselves because there's a whole part where Claire blacks out and she wakes up and she's like 15 inches taller and she doesn't remember anything. But then as the story progresses, you're getting little flashbacks, but you still have to put 2 and 2 together. And so I think that makes for some fun reading because maybe it gets explained later in the next volume or something like that. But just the layout, the art, the design, the story, the characters, I'm down with this series, man. I'm glad that I still have all of so Image always sends digital review copies. And so I've got these all piled up in a folder. And so I'm going to be reading these going forward. So bottom line for me, the design is, like I said, this is a fun story. Rush right out and pick Adventureman up. What say you, Matthew?
I agree 200%. Adventureman is likable. It's fun. It's immensely readable. It's rereadable, which is something you don't get to say about a lot of modern comics. And I appreciate the fact that there's not really an official quote unquote code name for Claire once she, becomes Claire and does her thing. But the strong implication is that Claire is still Adventureman.
Yeah.
And that's something that I love. I like that, just that legacy chunk, but more importantly, the fact that who's the new Adventure Mom? Oh, it's the single mom. Okay, great. That's Adventureman. How are you? And then to have all of the stuff that is packed into that first, I want to say the first issue is like double-sized.
It might be double-sized.
Or something crazy. To have all of that built in there, you could Hellboy the crap out of this. You could go back and here's the story of how the Aviatrix joined the group, or here's this weird story that takes place, and all of a sudden Baron Bazaar is working with Baron Zemo, and Captain America shows. I mean, you could literally tie this into other things. I don't know that they should. I don't know if they would. But if nothing else, if you want to see some really pretty, fast-moving, well-written comics, even if there's only 6 or 7 issues of it, this is where you want to be. This is a really good book. I won't rush necessarily because I'm old, but maybe I'll wheel out in a buying frenzy.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, shorter episode this week, but thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget the Major Spoilers Podcast pre-show, where you can find even more of our conversation. You can find that by heading over to patreon.com/major spoilers. $5 a month for bonus episodes, around 4 bonus episodes. I mean, if we're not here for a week because everybody's sick or scheduling conflicts, but every time we have a Major Spoilers podcast, there's always a pre-show that accompanies it, and you can get that for $5 a month. So that's like $1 an episode. What more can you ask for? How about more Major Spoilers podcast next week when we take a look at the adventures of Blake and Mortimer? Why? Because we know that you love Euro comics, and we do too, and we will talk with you soon.
If I had the X-ray vision of a Superman, I could save a few bucks and stand around and read through the covers of the comics on the stand. But although every other page would be backwards, I suppose I could still read the evens and the odds. Well, I don't know. Guess I haven't thought this all the way through. Plus, as soon as the comic book store guy knew, they kicked my butt out on the corner. What a major spoiler! What a major spoiler! Think about a better way. If I was hulking green or gray, I could just bust through that brick wall, take their comic books away. But then the little meat would deal with all the tanks and bombs and guns. Have you ever tried to read a series with all that going on? Guess I need to rethink this plan. How would I back and board my comics with such huge hands? Guess I already told ya. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. If I'm stark raving rich like a man of iron, I might not be surprised to find that I might actually have the heart cold to follow an entire storyline. But would I really even need to read up on all those escapades? I mean, who needs such distractions when your sister's such a babe? But the downside is such a beast. Being shot up in a fun bee in the Middle East with a gang sign throwing soldier. What a major spoiler. What a major spoiler. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What a major spoiler. Whoa, 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 whoa. What a major spoiler.
This podcast is copyright 2026 by Major Spoilers Entertainment, LLC.